When renovating a building and encountering a confusing electrical situation, systematically gathering information is crucial for troubleshooting. It sounds like there's an incoming service of 4 2/0 conductors that splits into multiple smaller conductors, but the neutral is missing and there are calcium deposits. Here's a breakdown of how to approach the problem. Firstly, determine the voltage of the incoming power. Is it 120/240 volts single phase, 120/208 volts 3-phase, 277/480 volts 3-phase, or some other voltage? Knowing the voltage is fundamental for understanding the system's configuration and for selecting appropriately rated components. Secondly, check if there are any other conductors present in the conduit besides the 4 2/0 conductors. Are there any ground wires, control wires, or other conductors that might provide clues about the original system design? Thirdly, attempt to trace the conduit further downstream to see if the neutral conductor is present anywhere. It may have been disconnected or rerouted at some point. Closely inspect all junction boxes and connection points. Fourthly, verify that all the panels and the disconnect switch are properly grounded. A proper grounding system is essential for safety and for the correct operation of electrical equipment. Use a multimeter to test the resistance between the grounding electrode conductor and the panel enclosures. Look for any signs of corrosion or loose connections. Fifthly, determine the age of the building and the electrical system. Older electrical systems may not meet current code requirements and may have undergone modifications that are not well documented. Sixthly, find out if any modifications or upgrades have been made to the electrical system in the past. Changes to the system may have inadvertently created the missing neutral situation. Look for signs of recent work, such as new wiring, replaced panels, or updated equipment. To further diagnose the problem, a detailed sketch of the electrical layout is essential. This should include the conduit runs, panel locations, the disconnect switch, the meter, the pull box, and all identified conductors. Indicate the sizes and types of conductors, as well as any splices or terminations. Photos of the panels, the disconnect switch, and the calcium deposits are important for visual documentation and can provide clues about the cause of the problem. The calcium deposits may indicate moisture intrusion or corrosion, which could be affecting the electrical connections. To ensure code compliance and safety, consult the electrical code requirements for the jurisdiction where the building is located. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides detailed guidelines for electrical installations, and local codes may have additional requirements. Now, let's discuss some potential causes of the missing neutral and the calcium deposits. The most obvious possibility is that the neutral conductor was intentionally removed or disconnected at some point. This could have been done during a previous renovation or modification. Another possibility is that the neutral conductor was damaged or corroded, leading to a break in the circuit. This is more likely in older systems where the wiring may be deteriorating. It is also possible that the original installation never included a neutral conductor. This is less common, but it could occur in certain types of electrical systems. Calcium deposits are often caused by moisture intrusion. Water can seep into conduits and electrical boxes, leading to corrosion of the metal components. The calcium comes from the breakdown of concrete or other building materials. The presence of calcium deposits suggests that there is a source of moisture that needs to be addressed. Here are some specific steps you can take to troubleshoot the missing neutral situation. Firstly, use a multimeter to check for voltage between the hot conductors and ground. If you have a 120/240 volt single-phase system, you should measure approximately 120 volts from each hot conductor to ground. If you have a 120/208 volt three-phase system, you should measure approximately 120 volts from each hot conductor to ground. If you have a 277/480 volt three-phase system, you should measure approximately 277 volts from each hot conductor to ground. Secondly, check for continuity between the neutral terminals in the panels and the neutral conductor at the service entrance. Use a multimeter to measure the resistance between these points. The resistance should be very low, close to 0 ohms. If the resistance is high, It indicates a break in the neutral conductor. Thirdly, inspect all the connections in the pull box where the 2/0 conductors are spliced to the number 2 conductors. Make sure the connections are tight and that there is no corrosion. Use wire connectors that are rated for the conductor sizes being used. Fourthly, check the grounding electrode conductor and the grounding connections at the service entrance. Make sure the grounding electrode conductor is properly connected to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or a metal water pipe. The grounding connection should be tight and free of corrosion. Fifthly, if you suspect moisture intrusion, try to identify the source of the moisture. Look for leaks in the roof, walls, or plumbing. Seal any openings that could allow water to enter the electrical system. Sixthly, if you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to help you troubleshoot the problem. Electricity can be dangerous, and it is important to take precautions to avoid electrical shock. When working with electrical systems, always follow these safety precautions. Firstly, turn off the power to the circuit you are working on. Use a circuit breaker or a disconnect switch to de-energize the circuit. Secondly, use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is de-energized. Touch the voltage tester to the hot conductors and the neutral conductor. If the voltage tester indicates that there is voltage present, the circuit is not de-energized. Thirdly, wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and rubber gloves. This will help protect you from electrical shock and other injuries. Fourthly, never work on electrical systems in wet conditions. Water is a good conductor of electricity, and it can increase the risk of electrical shock. Fifthly, if you are not sure how to do something, ask for help from a qualified electrician. It is better to be safe than sorry when working with electricity. The splicing of the 2/0 conductors to 3 number 2 conductors raises some questions about ampacity and code compliance. According to the NEC, the ampacity of a conductor is the maximum current, in amps, that it can carry continuously under specific conditions of use without exceeding its temperature rating. The ampacity of a 2/0 copper conductor is typically around 175 amps, depending on the insulation type and installation conditions, as per NEC Table 310.16. The ampacity of a number 2 copper conductor is typically around 95 amps, depending on the insulation type and installation conditions, again, as per NEC Table 310.16. If you have 3 number 2 conductors connected to each 2/0 conductor, the combined ampacity of the 3 number 2 conductors would be 3 times 95 amps, which equals 285 amps. This is higher than the ampacity of the 2/0 conductor, which is around 175 amps. However, the 2/0 conductor is protected by an overcurrent device such as a circuit breaker or a fuse that is sized to protect the conductor. The overcurrent device will trip if the current exceeds the ampacity of the 2/0 conductor. The NEC permits conductors to be tapped from a larger conductor if certain conditions are met, as outlined in NEC section 240.21. These conditions typically involve limiting the length of the tap conductors and ensuring that the tap conductors are protected by an overcurrent device that is sized to protect the conductors. In your situation, it is important to verify that the tap conductors meet the requirements of NEC section 240.21. If the tap conductors do not meet these requirements, the installation may not be code compliant. In addition to ampacity considerations, it is also important to consider voltage drop. Voltage drop is the decrease in voltage that occurs along a conductor due to the conductor's resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or operate inefficiently. The NEC recommends limiting voltage drop to 3% for branch circuits and 5% for feeders. To calculate voltage drop, you need to know the conductor's length, the conductor's resistance, and the current flowing through the conductor. You can use a voltage drop calculator or consult the NEC for voltage drop formulas. In your situation, it is important to calculate the voltage drop for the number 2 conductors to ensure that it is within acceptable limits. If the voltage drop is excessive, you may need to increase the size of the conductors. The absence of a properly identified neutral conductor and the presence of calcium deposits raise significant safety concerns. An improperly grounded or ungrounded system can create a shock hazard. Calcium deposits indicate moisture intrusion and potential corrosion, which can also compromise the safety of the electrical system. It is important to address these issues promptly to protect the building occupants from electrical hazards. To summarize, the key steps in troubleshooting this electrical situation are: firstly, gather detailed information about the system, including voltage, conductor sizes, and circuit configuration. Secondly, inspect all connections and components for signs of damage or corrosion. Thirdly, verify that all grounding connections are properly made. Fourthly, check for continuity and voltage at various points in the circuit. Fifthly, consult the NEC and local electrical codes to ensure compliance. Sixthly, if you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to help you troubleshoot the problem. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it is important to take precautions to avoid electrical shock.